This looks at the troubled life of former Fleetwood Mac frontman Peter Green. Listening in on confidential calls here on BBC1, the Hello Girls are in hot water in half an hour. And that's after our regular Thursday appointment at the Animal Hospital.
G'day, welcome back to Animal Hospital. Some of the animals that are brought in here really play up. It might be that they just don't like vets, or as David Grant found out the other day, it could be that the vet is the wrong sex.
And this is Lacey. Rather a shivering wreck. Is she friendly?
She don't like men, but she's...
How do you know that?
Because she always barks at them and everything else, so...
Oh dear, now, so we can get round her, shall we?
I'm just being very calm and quiet here.
Now then, Lacey, we're not all bad, eh? We're not all bad. So what can we do for her?
She's
What's she
losing
been
all
up to?
her fur at the back end. I noticed it about a week ago. And
Is she itchy?
yeah, she keeps on...
Nibble, nibble. Whereabouts?
She's losing
Base
it
of her
now.
toe. Okay.
Yep,
Right,
and round at her legs.
Well, she's just licked my hand, which is rather
me too. I
nice.
think she's trying to get round us, isn't she? There you are. You stay with your mum. Let's have a look. Oh, look at that. That's... See that, Rolf?
Please, is it?
See? You haven't forgotten. Very good. Have you seen a flea?
No.
Do you know why we don't find fleas? In flea allergy. Hold on to the dog. I'll tell you. Because
That's right, Papa.
it's a very bad environment for a flea. A dog that's scratching and licking the whole time. They get licked off and kicked off.
Never thought of that.
Well, you see, if you're a flea, you want a nice house, calm environment. Calm dog, calm environment. You don't want the dog scratching. You want to be getting on and living your life. As soon as they start scratching, you're no longer in a calm environment, you know. To hell
So
with
they
it.
run away.
Get off the dog, go find another home, you know. I think what we will do is, well, give her an injection to stop her scratching. Right. And we need to do some flea control. Ready?
Right, yep.
Done it.
That's it. Good girl.
Yes. Come on then. Oh, you're wagging your tail now. Ooh. Oh. You were right. You were right.
It was all going so well till then. I've learned a lot since I've been here, you know. But there's always something new to see. Like the animal that was brought into Gabriel Haggard's clinic. It was bright green and would normally live in South America.
I was advised by a pet shop to have it looked at because it's lost one of the back foot. It came off, you know.
Oh, dearie. And when did it actually lose its foot?
Roughly about 5 weeks ago.
Right.
So
Any idea how that happened?
well, they're very excitable, you know. They don't like being picked up. No frogs do, like that. And it jumped, and it must have gone into something and hurt its foot.
Right. Let's have a look at that. It's important not to use your dry, bare hands with when you're examining any amphibian because you can actually damage the skin. So I'm just going to put gloves on and keep my hands wet. Let's have a look and see how he's doing. Oh, yes.
Now.
You can see that quite clearly. That's where the foot used to be.
I had this from a tadpole. Cost about £2 something.
So you've had him since the tadpole?
Yeah, tadpole, yeah.
Right.
When they're tadpoles, the vegetation in the water, like the weeds.
Right.
Yeah. Then afterwards, when they come to a frog, it's about as big as that, he starts eating flies and things like that, little flies.
Is it a bullfrog?
It is a bullfrog. Well, it's a bullfrog, yeah. It's a female, actually.
Right.
I was told it was female. I read in the paper that when they grow bigger, these are quite capable of eating a kitten. But I think it's out of proportion, that.
Well, depend on the size of the kitten, I guess.
But I can't imagine it eating a kitten.
That's actually healing very well.
Yeah.
You can see that that pinky grey tissue there. That's actually granulation tissue there, which is the healing tissue, which is filling the gap over the exposed bone that was there before.
So that's good.
And that's a good sign. That's a good sign. It's healing very, very well.
Now, did that drop off of its own accord, or did they take it off when you brought it?
I found it on a stone, actually, the old foot itself. Do you know what these are notable for? They're croak. They say jug of rum. when they croak.
Do us an impersonation, go on.
You probably could do a jug of rum.
That's some croak. The RSPCA quite often gets calls about abandoned animals, but it may be necessary for the inspectors to make 2 or 3 visits before they can be certain that an animal has really been left. Steve Knight went out with Inspector Lee Hopgood, who was making a return visit to a flat where a dog had apparently been deserted.
Yeah, the property was sealed up just over 48 hours ago.
Lee had taped up the door so he would know if anyone had been into the flat.
My main concern is the welfare of the dog. No one's been in for 2 days. I'm the only person that's fed it, to my knowledge. We have no idea what's gone on in there, what's happened. There may well be someone sick in there. You don't know. That's why I don't like leaving abandonments running too long.
Using a mirror, Lee checked if the dog had eaten the food he'd put through the letterbox, along with some ice cubes to provide it with water.
It's quite difficult to see, isn't it?
No, we've got a little long-haired, tan, white and brown sort of terrier dog. Some of the food's still there.
What condition's the dog in?
It seems to be reasonable, but it's a long-haired dog, so until I get my hands on him, I couldn't say, to be honest.
He decided it was time to get the dog out, so he radioed for help.
Could you possibly landline Hampstead Police Station for me? See if they can send a call sign down to assist. I've got a dog in a flat that's been abandoned, and I need to gain entry to remove the dog. Over.
While he waited for the police to arrive, Lee photographed the seals in case he needed evidence that the dog had been abandoned.
Right, let's just put this away, and then if you guys want to do...
Nobody's gone through the windows or anything?
No, there's no way through the back, because it's a first floor with garages underneath.
Oh, right, superb.
So it's basically this door.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many locks are you in now?
I think there's one Yale lock on.
Despite what you see on films, it's not that easy to break down a door.
You haven't really got a big enough run-up to do it. You can't get in to give it a... If you had a good run-up, you could really get some weight behind it.
It was time to get some help.
Yep, got it.
The police checked the flat in case someone inside was ill, and Lee went to look for the dog. It had squeezed through an open window and gone into next door's garden.
There we go, there's the fella. He's all right, seems fairly friendly.
Yeah, look, he's on the thin side, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's... I mean, the thing is, you don't know how fat he was when he was left, you know, and how much he's lost. He's a timid little soul, isn't he?
He seemed okay, apart from the fact that he'd been frightened by all the noise. But the important thing was to get the dog back to the Harmsworth so that one of the vets could examine him. When Lee brought him in, Barbara O'Malley was on duty.
Hello, Barbara.
Hello. Let's just give him a little check over, make sure he's in good health. We haven't got a name for him at all, have we? What's your name, little fella, hey? Look at your teeth, okay? Little small.
That's a good lad.
He's got a bit of tartar in his teeth there, so he's a little bit older than he looks, actually.
Right.
Probably about 4 or 5, at a rough guess.
Here we go.
So I'll check his little heart. Yeah, his chest and heart sound okay, actually. He appears in quite good health, apart from being just a little bit thin.
It turns out the dog's called Alfie, and he's absolutely fine. The RSPCA is investigating the case. Most owners, if they're going away, they leave their animals with friends or in kennels. In Stan McCaskey's clinic early this week, a rather beautiful cat was brought in, and it had just come back from a spell away from home.
She's been away in a cattery for 2 weeks.
Right.
And when she came out, I wasn't at home, I was still on holidays, my son took her out. She's a little thing, we thought she'd get a little wart.
Right.
And it got bigger. So about a week later, my husband took it off and it was a tick.
It was a tick, right.
So this is a good week ago.
Right.
This weekend, he got very sore.
It's a very sore at the corners of the eye. Well, the problem with ticks is if you don't remove them carefully, they tend to leave their mouth parts, head parts in the actual wound, and then it can become infected and sore. And this is probably what has happened here.
Broke off the head of the tick.
That's right.
They've got a thing that they do in Australia with ticks,
Right.
because they're very common. They pick them up going through the bush. and they get a needle, ordinary sewing needle, heat it up over a match so it's really hot, and then place it just behind the tick. Right. And so it gets really hot behind the tick, and the tick burrows out and lets go and comes out, backs out. And
Interesting.
Then they flatten it and get rid of it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My technique is because these horrible little things tend to breathe through little holes in their sides called spiracles. They breathe through the holes in their side. And anytime you've got a tick and you're home or you're caught, you can get some Vaseline or petroleum jelly, and you just coat it with the Vaseline, and you leave it for about 10 to 20 minutes, and it actually suffocates them because they can't breathe through these little holes, and they die, and you just pluck them off.
Much better method.
If it was on any part of the body, you can use any technique to kill it, and then you can remove it, even with a spray. But because it's so near the eye, you can't afford to spray. But I think what's happened is just left probably a little bit of its mouth parts in. It's a bit sore. We need to put him on some antibiotics, and probably just give there a little clean-up, and he should be fine.
The Vaseline tip is really good. I'll remember that. After 5 years training, vets aren't just animal doctors, they're trained to be animal dentists as well. And it's not just old animals that are affected. Like growing children, young animals can have problems with their teeth too. One owner made a return visit to David's clinic the other day because her puppy had toothache.
Ella is still no better with her teeth.
What's happening then?
Well, the baby teeth are still there, and she just won't eat.
Does she have trouble with her mouth? Is she doing this? Or?
Yes, and she keeps crying.
Does she? Let's have a look then. Just stand just there. That's good. You hold her two front legs very gently. Let's open her mouth. Open wide.
Open, Ella.
That's it. Open
Good
up.
girl. Good girl. Open up.
See that little tooth there? That's what we're talking about, is it? That one?
That one, and there's some this side as well.
Baby tooth there. They're called deciduous teeth. I bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. No.
Well, deciduous means temporary, like you get deciduous trees. You know, they shed their leaves every year. Yeah, that is a bit sore on that side.
Keep still.
Temporary teeth. They should come out at about now. How old is she? 8 months old, something like that. Yes, that's right. Okay. Well, I think what we'd better do is get her into the hospital as soon as possible. We'll take those teeth out, and hopefully that's going to solve the problem.
The next day, Ella was back, and Steve watched as Stan McCaskey operated on her.
Really pushed together, aren't they?
Yes, that's right, very close. And you've got 2 teeth in a space where there should be 1.
This is presumably the same sort of thing that children have to have done, because I had 4 teeth removed when I was a child, to let the others grow through.
I would think it must be the same. It will affect the actual eruption of the permanent teeth as a youngster, so you've got to have them corrected early.
Yeah. And, well, now I see that. I'm glad it was done. It didn't seem nice at the time.
I think I've got it loosened enough for an extraction. That's it.
Stan removed the other teeth, and Ella was soon tucking into a good meal and ready to go home.
Animals coming in here that aren't dogs and cats are usually brought into this ward. Although most of them are wild, like the goose here, they're quite at home in a London park or garden. But the other day, Shauna Lowry visited Lindy Blackett and her mother Debbie, who'd found something very unusual at the end of their garden.
It was last Saturday morning. I was hanging my washing out and I heard a noise that sounded a bit like a baby dinosaur. And thought, oh, what's that? And looked round and I just couldn't believe what I saw sitting in the tree. At first I thought it was a large parrot until my daughter Lindy put me right on the matter.
I recognised what it was and I thought it was a macaw. That was right.
An RSPCA inspector collected it and took it back to the hospital. When I met the macaw, it was sitting on the back of a chair being fed by nurse Claire Nuttall. Gosh, he's a beautiful bird, isn't he? He's a little bit nervous if I move. He's just checking me over. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tame bird, just a bit overwhelmed, I think.
What sort of bird is he?
Green-winged macaw. He's thin. Other than that, he appears healthy. He's got slightly overgrown beak.
If an owner does come forward, how could you be sure that this is the owner's bird?
Hopefully they'll bring a photograph, because besides his beak, which is individual to him, the facial patterns of the feathers on his cheeks are individual to every macaw. It's like a fingerprint.
I was just going to say, like a fingerprint. You seem to know a lot about macaws.
I used to work with them for 12 years. Very interesting birds because they're so clever. They say the intelligence of a macaw is about that of a 3-year-old child, which is why so many in captivity develop behavioural problems.
What sort of toys would you give a bird like this to keep him interested?
Branches, they love apple, willow, edible branches, they love the taste of them. They just love destroying. That's what a parrot does for fun, is it destroys things. So you give it half a tree and it'll be away for a few hours, but then it'll need something else. So they're not the sort of animal you can leave at home all day. You're dealing with a real thinking being with a macaw.
How much space would a bird like this, in the best sort of scenario, how much space would he need?
The actual most important thing with a bird like this is company rather than space. If people stuck a 3-year-old child in a playpen and left it all day, they wouldn't expect it to grow up normal, so you can't really do that to a macaw either and expect it to retain its marbles. Right, I'll put him away now. If you don't mind.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was just going to suggest that.
It's all right, lad. It's all right, lad. Kiko. He knows where's home already.
That's good, I'll get out of the road here.
That's straight back.
Yeah.
Hopefully the owner's going to come forward and claim the bird.
He's a lovely bird. I bet someone is looking for him. You may remember Claire said he was actually a bit underweight, but as you may have seen in the news recently, there is a growing problem in this country with pets that are getting too fat. Often it's simply a case of overeating, but sometimes there are other reasons. Either way, there can be all sorts of side effects, as I found out in Barbara O'Malley's clinic the other day.
Stout girl, isn't she?
Yes.
What a waistline. What a lack of waistline.
Oh, the tail between the legs here.
Well, I think
Okay, what's wrong with Beth today then?
what's happened is, you see this
right.
lump here, but in this last few days it's come up really, really solid.
Big, right.
And I also am a bit worried because I've stroking her in the front, I can feel a lump down in this area.
I think most lumps around here are probably just extra
Yes.
fat, actually.
Yes, she
We'll just
does.
turn around towards
Yes.
me. She's a
Right.
lovely shiny colour, hasn't she? This lump has grown quite fast, has it?
I think in this last week it's got really, really
Right.
bad.
I suspect, in view of the other lumps down here,
Probably.
and in view of the size of the dog, middle-aged bred, I think with this lump here is what we call a lipoma.
Yes.
Basically a fatty lump. It is a tumour, but it's a very benign tumour, completely harmless, and it's very common in middle-aged dogs with a bit of extra weight. And it's going to push on her eye eventually and affect her vision. So I think in this case, this will require an operation to take it out. The problem is that she had a hysterectomy back in March for a womb infection, and the metabolism does slow down after this operation, so they require a lot less food.
Can I just ask something? Is a hysterectomy in a dog, is that the same as being spayed?
Yes, exactly the same thing.
Why would the metabolism slow down after that?
Well, it's to do with the female hormones. When we do a hysterectomy in a dog, we don't just remove the womb, we actually move both ovaries as well. So that affects the dog's hormone balance quite drastically, and obviously stops the seasons and things. But one side effect of the operation, unfortunately, is a tendency to gain weight. But it doesn't have to happen. What do you give her to eat at present?
Well, of a morning she has a dried tripe of a morning, just a strip of opening, and of an evening she has about perhaps 12 ounces of chicken with some rice, or she'll have fish and rice, or she has a tin of butcher's tripe, and that's it. I mean, she's not even really... I know she looks so big.
It's quite hard,
That's she is.
Well, she is. I can't say she's greedy. That's the thing I'm trying to say, really.
She just
In
got,
a normal case, after a hysterectomy, how much should you cut the dog's food back?
About, hard to tell exactly, about a quarter or a third. It depends on the dog. The staffies, Labradors, you know, they need Weight Watchers, basically. But they're like a very economical car. They can run on very little petrol.
Now, you heard earlier how surprised one family was to find this macaw in their garden. But I can't imagine what the people felt like who discovered another stray this week. Ambulance driver Ned Abdurrahman explains.
Apparently my colleague Kieran picked it up on a night shift. Basically came from a studio flat. Two young ladies in there who found it in their kitchen, where it frightened the life out of them. They frightened the life out of it, and it promptly crawled underneath the fridge. But once we got that moved, just pulled it out, and here it is.
What's going to happen to it now?
Well, basically, we're going to take it over to the Reptile and Amphibian Society.
Okay. The chairman of the society, Mick Powell, fosters snakes and other reptiles until suitable homes can be found for them. He currently has over 40 of them in a specially converted room in his house in East London.
Told you about. Only quite a young one.
Little baby.
Which seems really friendly. I presume it is a she. I haven't actually looked that closely.
It's a male.
That's a male?
Yeah.
How do you know it's male?
That's one thing about the pythons. They've got what they call the spurs, right at the base of the tail, but the males are quite large.
Just those 2 points there
Yeah,
and there.
both sides.
Oh, right.
What will happen to it?
At the moment, I'll put them in quarantine until one of our members comes along for adoption.
Once the new resident was safely put away, Mick showed us some of his other snakes.
Well, the latest rescue from the RSPCA.
What kind of snake is that?
It's an albino California king snake. As far as I know, they found this wandering up Edmonton High Street.
As they do.
I don't know how people can lose them.
Well, they presumably sneak out with
They're very, very good escape artists.
Yeah.
Very good.
Do you ever get bitten by any of these snakes?
Actually, I got bitten last night. Went to get him out, he turned and bit me. Yeah. A lot of these snakes won't bite, but they're not handled enough. I don't get enough time to handle them all.
Right.
So that is the trouble. Once they're not used to being handled, they think they're being attacked every time.
And you're not worried about that at all?
Yeah, they don't worry me at all. You start worrying when the big ones have a bite.
This is a huge one down here. What's this?
That was very, very badly mistreated, that one was. The vivarium he was kept in was very small. And there was a heater covering the whole of the floor. And he literally cooked himself onto the heat mats. He had blisters right away from, as I say, from top to bottom. He's lucky to be alive. This is a boa constrictor. Another present from the RSPCA.
Oh, it's lovely.
Not fully grown?
Not fully grown, no. He's been well underfed, actually. The last time I fed him, it took 6, 8 rats, I think.
In one go?
In one go.
Yeah, he looks quite thin still, isn't he?
And you're starved to death.
What will happen to this one then, Mick?
Hopefully we'll find another home for him. We should do quite easily, actually.
You're not tempted to keep this one? It's beautiful.
I'd love to keep them all.
Yeah.
I just haven't got the room for them.
They're quite affectionate, actually. If you get ones that are really nice, they actually are usually quite affectionate, aren't they, Mick?
They get to know you after a while.
Yeah.
Not like a cat or a dog will, but they do get to know you.
Well, you're taking a shine to this one, then.
Oh, I love it, yeah. I mean, I've always loved snakes. I'd love to take this one home.
Oh, why don't you?
I think my girlfriend would probably kick me out.
It sounds like a lot of those snakes are lucky to be alive. But the python that Ned and Steve took to mix is even luckier because its owner managed to track it down. He couldn't get time off work this morning, so a friend has come to collect it. Naomi, nice to see you here. What's the snake's name?
His name's Max.
So how did Max come to get lost?
Well, the owner was away on holiday and Max managed to climb out of his cage and slithered down a hole in the floor. He was gone for a month. He went down 2 floors of the building, and the only reason Chris, the owner, found the snake was by a notice that someone had pinned up, and he contacted them and then phoned the RSPCA.
I bet he'll be thrilled to see Max back again.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much for coming
Thank you.
in. That's a lucky snake. Some of the animals that come in here need all the luck they can get, like a little cat, funnily enough called Cat, that was brought in. Shauna reports.
What's she been up to, Sandy?
She came in this morning. She's fallen 4 stories. She's heavily pregnant and she started kittening. She's had 2 that have come out dead and 1 that's come out alive.
Can we just turn around? I'll have a feel of her tummy, see if there's any kittens there.
Oh, you turn it back in.
We've had 3 so far. Oh, looks like that leg might be broken. There's more kittens in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just put her on her side, very, very, very gently.
There you go. There. That's all right.
There we are now. Oh dear, that's broken.
All right, sweetness.
All right, sweetheart, that's a good pussycat. And what about the other one?
The other one?
They sometimes break both legs.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's just the one that's gone. She's got to have the rest of those kittens, hasn't she? So we'll need to give her some oxytocin and see if she can deliver the rest on her own. Hopefully she can, otherwise we're going to a caesarean. Give her some painkiller, some antibiotic, and then just put a little splint on that, eh? Good.
Very good.
She's been very, very good.
Aren't you?
Good. What I think we should do now is give her 5 minutes for the pain relief to work, and then I think we ought to put a strapping on that foot to give her a bit of support there.
Okay.
And then she'll be free of pain, and she can get on with having her kittens. Let's put her back in for the moment, eh?
Kat was left to rest quietly with her kitten, but within a few minutes, another kitten was on its way.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, look at that. It's still got it's still attached a bit.
Yeah. It's just cleaning it all up. Incredible, isn't it?
The new kitten was fine, but David was sure there was another still to come. As Kat was getting very weak, he decided to deliver it by cesarean.
Now we get this one out. There's only one there. Doesn't look too healthy. Let's see now. I'll give it to you to have a look at. Okay.
Despite their efforts to resuscitate it, the kitten didn't survive. But David had to get on and splint Kat's broken leg before she came round.
If I hold that then and reduce the fracture, could you dress it, Emma? Okay? That's great. She'll feel a lot better with that on, I can tell you.
David was right. And a few days later, Kat was recovering at home with her 2 healthy kittens.
Oh, look. She's been through so much, hasn't she?
She's a very brave girl.
It turned out that Kat had actually fallen from the top floor window.
The cat actually jumped up here, and it normally steadies itself and goes onto the ledge. But on this day, it seemed to overbalance. And when it got down onto the ledge and squatted, the size of her stomach must have pushed her off the edge of the window. I found her at 5:45, hobbling up the stairs.
So what are you going to do to prevent it happening again?
Well, the cat, I hope it have learned its lesson, but obviously when the cat is in here, the windows will be closed.
Keep an eye on her.
Exactly, yeah.
I
Don't want to
think
go through that again.
No, I'm sure she doesn't either.
No.
It's easy to forget that cats may not be quite as agile as we expect them to be. When it comes to windows and balconies, you just can't be too careful. Now, RSPCA inspectors are called on to tackle all sorts of rescues, and would-be inspectors are trained to deal with every conceivable eventuality. Last week, we saw the latest band of recruits tackling snakes. This week, it's ladders. For some of the trainees who didn't have a head for heights, the 60-foot climb was pretty daunting,
Keep coming, that's good.
even with a little help from the fire brigade.
Keep it going, right to the top of the ladder, keep watching your hands, nice and close to the ladder. Right, pivot round, leg back into the building. I know it's difficult, but just try and straighten your elbows out a bit. Can't do it. You've got a couple of buckets of sweat up here now, I think, H. Concentrate on your hands.
For some, the climb down was even worse than the climb up.
You've just got to overcome that initial gut-wrenching feeling, but I'm glad it's done.
I'd like to go back up there and do it again, just to confirm for myself that I could do it, but not today.
That looked really scary. Next week, we're going to be behind the scenes with the inspectors at the Horse of the Year show. And if dealing with horses is part of an inspector's job, then it's got to be part of the training too. So I'll leave you with more of those trainee inspectors.
There's an animal trapped on the other side of the green box. I'll give you a clue. It's a 4-legged beast, and it has a long neck. And we'll endeavour to lift the animal over the green box. You're going to reach. Yep. Just get the...
Okay. The idea is to get it up as level as possible.
I bet that's the easiest animal they'll ever have to deal with. See ya. Bye.
And there's more from Rolf Harris and the Animal Hospital in the BBC book and video, available now.
Sunday, although it seems like any ordinary day, it isn't, for one extraordinary reason.
I will not go quietly into the night. I will talk to the leaders, the movers, the shakers, and the bright. We will survive. Sunday will no longer be known as the second day of the weekend, but as Anderson Day.
Clive Anderson. He's all talk. Sunday at 10:15 on BBC1.
We're the bloodless revolution of senior citizens and the occupationally rejected.
Oh, in that case, could I propose that the legacy of Reginald Perrin should continue Sunday at 8:30, as it were?
Perhaps we'd better vote on that. All those in favour? All those against? Abstentions?
Sorry. Time for action has come. Fixed date of revolution. Put it in your diaries.
Super. It's agreed then. The legacy of Reginald Perrin, Sunday, 8:30 on BBC1.
Introduce a bit of democracy, and what does it end up like? The House of Blasted Commons.
The latest coupe and the lowdown on car insurance. Top Gear is on BBC2 in a few moments. This is BBC1 with a lesson in minding your own business for the Hello Girls.
I put a nickel in the telephone, dialed my baby's number, got a busy line. Each time I tried, I got a busy tone. Now my baby's number, just a busy line. And as I walked up to my baby then, I got my baby's number. He was busy in the parlor doing fine. Busy kissing someone else while I was keeping busy getting a busy line.
New lipstick, Fruity. Please, is it too bright? You sure it wouldn't need a torch to show you to your seat? Trying to connect you? Only teasing. Smashing.
Sylvia, the brother's got press tickets for the Invisible Man.